Hey everyone, welcome back to English Lessons with Guneet. In today's video, I'm going to do the chapter Oliver Asks for More by Charles Dickens. This is a very famous chapter from a very famous book, that is Oliver Twist. So let's start with it. So just let me give you a basic introduction what it basically is about. So it is about a boy named Oliver Twist who is an orphan, and it shows that how the life is of the orphans in the old era. In the this story is of the old time, of the ancient times, and it shows that how the life of the orphans was there in ancient England. Now, among other buildings in a town in England, there was a house for poor people who had no money and nowhere to live. This was called the workhouse. Now, many a times the question is asked in the exam that what was the workhouse, like what was the work of it. Now, the answer is this part. This whole paragraph is the answer to this question. This paragraph basically means that it was a house, it was a home for the people who did not have any money and they had no place to live or nowhere to go. Now, Oliver Twist, he was born in the workhouse. Now, which was the workplace of Oliver Twist? It was the workhouse. Oliver Twist was born in the workhouse. His mother was a young woman, lay ill in bed. A doctor and an old woman stood by her side. She lifted her head from the pillow. Means it seems like from this paragraph that now just it has been a very little time that Oliver Twist has been born, and his mother, she's very badly ill and she's like in her deathbed, and a doctor and an old woman, they are just standing by her side, and she just lifts her head from the pillow and she says, "Let me see the child and die," she said. Means she already know that she's about to die, so she was saying these lines that just let me see the baby so that I can die peacefully, that I have at least seen my baby. "Oh, you must not talk about dying yet," said the doctor. Means the doctor, he had pity on the lady that she sings such things because she was just a young woman. She had just given birth to a child and she just wants to die. So that is why doctor, he said this line. "No, dear," said the old woman, "you're too young to die." Yeah, the things that I told you, here's the answer. Why they were saying all those things, the old woman and the doctor, because even they are feeling that the woman, she's too young to die. The old woman shook her head and held out her hands towards the child. And she stretched out her hands. She just shook her head like this, no, just let me die. And now the doctor, he put the child in her arms. She pressed her cold white lips to its face and then fell back. Means she just kissed the child and then she went back. Then she died. "She is dead," said the doctor. "Yes, poor dear," said the old woman as she took the child away from the dead mother. "Poor dear." Means now only the young woman who was the mother of Oliver Twist, she was there for him, and now she's no more there, she's dead. Means now Oliver Twist is an orphan. She was a good looking She was a good looking girl, said the doctor as he put on his hat and gloves. When someone, they are picking up their things, they're putting up their hand and glove, means the doctor now he's about to leave the scene. Now he's just, talking that the young woman who was the mother of Oliver Twist, he's saying that, yeah, she was a good looking girl. Now the doctor only, he asked that where did she come from? "She was brought here last night," said the old woman. "She was lying in the street. She had walked a long way and her shoes had holes in them. Nobody knows where she came from or where she was going." Means now even these lines, they're very important, and questions usually come from these lines, as they ask that about the past of the woman and all these things, they come from this main paragraph. Ki after that, means from where did the woman come? She was just lying in the street and she was brought here the last night. And the old woman just told that how it seemed like she had walked a long way. As why she had they estimated that she had walked a long way because her shoes had holes in them. Means after we walk a very long, very very long distance, our shoes, they can worn out. Then he's now she also tells that nobody knew like about her identity or where she came from or where she was going. The doctor raised the dead woman's left hand. Now, can you all just think of the reason why the doctor raised the dead woman's left hand. On the left hand we wear the marriage rings that are there. So the doctor, he wanted to check that whether the woman is married or not. So then he sadly explains the usual story. I see that she has no ring on her finger. She wasn't married. Good night. Now finally he also just leaves from there. So here no ring means that she was without a husband, means she was not married. So now when the woman had died, so the doctor, he had a expectation that maybe there is a father of the child, so Oliver Twist would not become an orphan. But when he checked the woman's hand, there was no ring, which which showed that the woman was not married, which means the child did not have a father. So now Oliver Twist was an orphan only. He went home to his dinner. The old woman sat down on a chair in front of the fire and began to dress the baby. She dressed him in the very old clothes used for babies who were born in the workhouse. The child was an orphan born into a world which had no love or pity for him. Now this was the proper starting of the story. Means now he's an orphan and there is nobody for him in the world, and nobody loves him or has pity on him. Now the old woman, she's dressing him in the old clothes, which are just given to the babies that are born in the workhouse. And here it means by the doctor. No one was able to discover who the baby's father was or what his mother's name was. So these are the two things which nobody was able to discover. That is, who the baby's father was or what his mother's name was. Because through these things he could get some connections and get to know about his family, so that he could finally have a family and not become an orphan. Because the life of orphans at that time was very, very harsh. That's why Mr. Bumble, an important officer in the town, invented a name for the baby. He chose the name Oliver Twist. Means he invented a name. So who was Mr. Bumble? He was an important officer in the town. He chose the name for the baby and he chose the name Oliver Twist. Now, why did he specifically name Oliver Twist only? So did he have some special feeling, love for the baby? No, not at all. What he did was, this is in the next paragraph, they're showing that how he actually named the baby. He's saying that we name the new babies here in the order from A to Z. Means they name the babies that are born in the order, in the alphabetical order. He explained when people ask that I name the last one Swabble, this one Twist, and the next one would be Unwin. At the age of 9, Oliver was a pale, thin child. He and the other workhouse boys never had enough warm clothes or food. They were only given 3 meals of thin soup every day. On Sundays, they had a small piece of bread. So this shows that what life Oliver Twist had. So at the age of 9, means he was very pale, he was very thin, and the reasons for this was because they never had warm clothes or food. And even if we talk about the food, it was not too good. It was like not a balanced diet. It was not fulfilling the basic necessities that somebody needs in the food. Means only 3 thin meals were given of very thin soup, and on Sundays they only had just a small piece of bread. Then they were fed in a big hall. A large pot stood at one end of the room, and the soup was served by the master. Now, the further lines that are there, this paragraph mainly, it shows like how their system was there of the food being distributed in their orphanage, in the workhouse actually, basically the workhouse only. So they were fed in a big hall. A large pot stood at one end of the room, and the soup was served by the master. Means where was the soup served? In a big hall. The pot was at one end of the room and it was served by the master. Each boy had one small bowl of soup and no more. Means they could only have one bowl of soup, and that also which it was given in very less quantity. The bowls never needed washing. So what is the reason why the bowls never needed washing? The answer is because the boys cleaned them with their spoons until they shone. Means in very less quantity they gave, and they were so hungry that they just used to properly eat everything. The last drop of soup even they used to drink it, so nothing was left. So that is why they never needed to wash their bowls. One day, Oliver and his friends decided that one boy would walk up to the master after supper and ask for more soup. Oliver was chosen. Means, as in the previous paragraph we had read, that they only got one thin bowl of soup and no more was given to them. Now they decided, what if we really asked for more soup? Because his friends, they were just at the age of 9 only, a very young age, so they had not seen anybody ever ask for more food, so they didn't know what would be the consequence, but they still decided, let's just try for it. And they decide, what plan did they make, that one boy would walk up to the master after supper and ask for more soup. And for this thing, who was chosen? Oliver was chosen. In the evening, the boys sat down at the tables. The master stood by the pot and the soup was served. It disappeared quickly. The boys whispered and made signs to Oliver. He stood up from the table and went to the master with his bowl and spoon in his hands. Now, as per the plan, when the evening came, means when it was the time for their supper, now the master, as usual, he was standing with the pot at one corner of the big hall and the soup was being served. And it disappeared quickly, means everybody was so hungry that they were quickly eating it all up. And after they all were well aware about the plan, so they were just whispering among themselves. They were making signs to Oliver that you go and ask him for more soup, because what they thought of was that if the master agreed to give soup to him, to Oliver, then they all could also get more soup and their hunger could be satisfied then. Now, as per the plan, he stood up and he from the table and he went to the master with his bowl and spoon in his hands. And what did he say? Let's see. Please, sir, he said, I want some more. Now the master, who was a fat, healthy man, but he went very pale. Now, fat, healthy means that physically he was a very fat and healthy and obese man. But when he heard this, he became pale because he was so much shocked to see that some child, or was asking him for more soup. He looked at the with surprise at the small boy. Who was the small boy? Oliver Twist. What, said the master at last in a quiet voice. He was too much astonished to see some small boy ask for more soup. Please, sir, repeated Oliver, I want some more. The master hit Oliver with his spoon, means with the spoon with which he was serving. He just hit Oliver and then he seized him. He just caught him and cried for help. Now the master was such an adult man, but still what he did was he started to cry for help. Why was he crying for help? Because he was so much shocked that how can somebody ask for more food. So he just cried, somebody just come and help me, this boy is asking for more food from me. Mr. Bumble rushed into the room. On hearing the cries of the master, Mr. Bumble, who was an important officer in the town, he just rushed and he just asked that, and master told him what Oliver had said. He asked for more, Mr. Bumble cried. I cannot believe it. One day they will hang the boy. Means it was such an unusual activity for them to just ask for some more soup. If we think about it today, it seems as a very common thing. But at that time, for an orphan to ask for more soup, it was considered as a very unusual activity. That is what they have shown in this chapter. So now even Mr. Bumble, he was very surprised that why did this boy even ask for more soup? He took Oliver away and shut him in a dark room. The next morning, a notice appeared on the workhouse gate. £5 were offered to anybody who would take Oliver Twist. Wow, see the twist in the story. Now, what Mr. Bumble did was that he took Oliver Twist, he isolated Oliver from all other boys and he just shut him in a dark room. He was just a 9-year-old boy. Now, when a 9-year-old, the boy would be shut in a dark room, obviously he would be very much scared, and this is the normal condition and that would be there of a 9-year-old. So he was shut in a dark room on that evening, and after that, the next morning, a notice it was put up on the workhouse gate that £5 would be given to anybody who would take Oliver Twist. Oliver was a prisoner in the cold dark room for a whole week. Means just for a long 1 week for that 9-year-old. He was just like a prisoner. He was treated in the cold dark room. Every morning he was taken outside to wash and Mr. Bumble beat him with a stick. Means why this was done, this all was done so that nobody else in the workhouse, no other boy in the workhouse, no other orphan in the workhouse, he dared to even ask for more soup. That is why Oliver was being tortured as a prisoner, just to show others that you should not even ask for more soup. It is a very illegal kind of activity. Then he was taken into the large hall where the boys had their soup, means a big hall, as they have stated previously also in the story. Mr. Bumble beat him in front of everybody, again, just to make everybody beware that you're not supposed to ask for even more soup. He cried all day. When night came, he tried to sleep, but he was cold, lonely, and frightened, because he was frightened that he would be beaten up again. He was frightened because of the torture, the behavior, the harsh behavior that was done to him. One day, outside the high workhouse gate, Mr. Bumble met Mr. Sowerberry. Now, who was Mr. Sowerberry? Let's read. Mr. Sowerberry was a thin, tall man who wore black clothes and made coffins. Means he was a coffin maker who wore black clothes, and what was his physical appearance? He was tall and thin. Many of his coffins were for the people who died in the workhouse. I have prepared the coffins for the two women who died last night, he said to Mr. Bumble. Now, these lines, they have been said by Mr. Sowerberry. So he's just telling that I have made the coffins for the two women who had just died the previous night. Now, good, said Bumble. You will be rich one day, Mr. Sowerberry. Now, whenever we want somebody, we want to get something from somebody, we just try to first butter them and talk good about them. So, that is good, said Mr. Bumble. You will be rich one day, Mr. Sowerberry. Do you know anybody who wants a boy and 5 pounds? He raised his stick and pointed to the notice on the gate. Now, Mr. Bumble, at what is he saying good? He is saying good at the work that Mr. Sowerberry had done. You will be rich one day. You, here is Mr. Sowerberry. He's just saying that Mr. Sowerberry, for the work that you're doing, you will surely be rich one day. Do you know anybody who wants a boy? Now, whom do you think is this boy? This boy is none other than Oliver Twist. And 5 pounds. You remember the notice that they had put on the gate, the big gate, the large gate of the workhouse? All these details he's stating here now. And so he pointed at the notice on the gate. So it is the notice of Oliver Twist only, because he just wanted to get rid of the boy whom he thought that would spoil the others. So this is a very shocking story which shows the harsh treatment, the true picture of the society which was shown. And it's the central character here is Oliver Twist. So Dickens, he manages to infuse the central character with the gentility and empathy. So the basic central idea that is there of the story is to show that how there was cruel treatment to many orphans in London in the mid 19th century of like the industrial age England. Now, this accept reflects Dickens' own experiences and difficult childhood. Despite the evident pathos means misery, Dickens manages to infuse the central character. The central character is Oliver Twist with gentility and empathy. So, this story, it arises in everyone the feeling of empathy for the boy Oliver Twist. So, I hope that you liked the story and it was clear to you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Till next time, bye bye.